Right. Oh, I see our brother Chris Edub is in the room. Thank you for joining. Glad you made it. All right, awesome. Okay, so I would really appreciate if everybody could please like and repost the space. That way we could get more people in here. And as many of you know, you guys are regulars here, but also for other people that may hopefully join us soon, we do the PO app for attendees, and I will send DM links to people to be able to claim that. The way I know who's here is by seeing who comments and repost the space. So please go ahead and do that, and maybe also DM your friends and let them know to join in. Thanks for joining. All right, cool. And so we're going to do, especially for people that might be new listening in. This is basically, we start out with a quick introduction to the space. What's the whole point of these spaces? Jenny will do the introduction for our guest, and then we're going to go into like interview questions, and then we'd love for people to be able to come up. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, maybe it's background noise on your side, Natasha. Okay. But yeah, then we'd like to do open it up for people that are in the audience to come up. Oh, you know what, Natasha, do you have your the computer volume down all the way? Maybe that's what I'm hearing, like some feedback.
I do have it muted.
Okay.
But it might be doing laundry, so it might be too.
You know what I think it was, guys? I think it's that it's not the mic was on here in the space. This was on for a moment.
Maybe that was it? Okay.
Do you hear better now?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
All right, cool. Awesome. So yeah, and then we'll love to open it up for anybody that's here to come up and ask questions. So pretty much just some background on the space. It's a space I started almost a year ago, really to shine a spotlight on talented artists who are part of the Web3 space. We like to do in-depth interviews to learn more about the artists behind the art. And in the process, we hope to bring greater awareness to the artists, maybe foster some new connections. And if people maybe have a creative passion of their own, maybe feel inspired to start their own journey in this space as well. It's a very inclusive space, so we welcome artists of all nationalities, backgrounds, artistic styles, whether they're seasoned professionals or people that are just starting out. We really try to bring a diverse range of voices from the Web3 community. And we also celebrate how art and creativity brings us all together. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jenny to introduce our special guest for today.
Thank you. Natasha is an artist dedicated to inspiring, empowering, and encouraging others through her hand-drawn ink and watercolor illustrations. Her art focuses on women and nature and can be collected both in digital and physical formats, and was featured on HGTV's Urban Oasis in 2021. Giancarlo and I are thrilled to learn about her story, and with that, we welcome her to the stage.
Welcome, Natasha. Thank you so much for being here today. Hope your Friday's off to a good start.
It's been pretty good, pretty chill. I homeschool my two girls, and so even with that going on today, it was still just like, okay, it's a little relaxed day. So it's been a pretty good day.
All right, glad to hear that. That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you being on our space as our guest artist today. Why don't we start off with you take like 5 minutes and tell us a little bit more about yourself, your story, and then how eventually you came into this whole Web3 space.
Okay, so I began creating my first warrior during a very difficult time for me. I was about 20 years old. I was suffering from several medical conditions at the time that were undiagnosed. I was suffering from scoliosis. I was having about 40 plus kidney stones that I was passing all at once, including having IBS and also syncope, which means that you're prone to faint due to the way that my heart beats. So it was during a time where I was just suffering and had so much pain, and I was just done. I was like, I don't want to be this happy, encouraging person, and I just want to I just want to take a step back and become like a shell of a person. And it was that moment that my grandmother called me, and we just talked on the phone about how, because she was someone I could be really honest with, and she could be honest with me with. And she just told me all these stories on how hard it was for her to raise 7 children on her own, and all her medical issues, and how whenever she thought that there was no way out of it, something came along, a miracle came along, a blessing came along, and it helped her push her through that. And after getting off the phone with her, it just made me remember and realize that there are so many strong women in my family, that all of us suffer from various chronic illnesses, and seeing them remain loving and kind and caring and supportive for other people, that kind of just gave me the strength to create a warrior for myself that represents that strength that went through my family's heritage. So that's when I created the first warrior. When I just used a Sharpie and a piece of paper that was near me, and then I posted it on the internet and just forgot all about it. And then I started getting emails and messages and comments from all these women talking about how that warrior gave them the strength to leave domestic violence situations, how it gave them the strength to fight cancer, and how it just helped them get through depression. And so then I realized that these warriors was not just something that was what I needed in that moment and still rely on, but it was something that many women across the world would benefit from and also needed to hear. And so that's when I started really creating more and more of these warriors. I got into web space because a friend of mine heard and knew my story, that how I was using these warriors to encourage women across the world. And he said, there's no better way to do that than with Web3. You're not limited to the physical and just being seen in the US. In Web3, you can go all across the world. And so he kind of helped me. He even helped boost so that I can fund my first collection that I have on foundations. And he took me to VCon, both of them, and so that I can just network and get to know people. And so that's how I got really into Web3.
Wow, that's awesome. And I had a question actually, because you mentioned that you posted, so you created this warrior, right, which was inspired by the strength and like this legacy of women in your family that have endured a lot of stuff. And that then that warrior, you put it out there, and then all of a sudden, like, it inspired other women and gave them that strength too. Like, did you put some kind of message or something behind it as well, or was it just really like the image and a description? I was just kind of curious. Yeah.
That first time I posted on there, I just posted on Instagram and then posted on Facebook. And then I don't think I put a caption. I really don't think so. I think I just put the medium I used to make it. And then I started getting all these questions about her on Facebook, and then people were commenting directly and things like that. And for a while, for several years, when you Googled women with bow and arrow, my art piece was one of the first one that showed up, because during that time, there was not a lot of images on Google Images or artwork being done of women confidently and knowledgeably holding weapons. And so it was something that people were obviously wanting to see, and they didn't have it at that time. And so one of my pieces was the first for that.
Wow, true pioneer in paving the way there. And I know actually now I know like Sarah Bauman's actually a fan of your artwork as well, and actually purchased one of your pieces. And I could see, because she was also wanting to, like, do something kind of different that went against the norm with like her women and weapons collection and stuff like that. So that's really cool that you kind of like put that out there, and there wasn't really anybody else doing that. That's awesome. So other thing I wanted to ask you about as well, right? So your primary artistic style now, right, is like this neo-pop realism that you create with ink and watercolors. And I'd love to know, like, how you arrived at that particular style, right? Like, how did you get to like create the way you do now? And maybe what have been some of the biggest like artistic influences that you've had? And I know from reading your bio that your mother was also part of that as well, and teaching you to draw. So maybe you could talk a little bit about like how your style evolved and how you got to where you are now.
So growing up, my mom noticed that it was something that I've always wanted to do. That I was always drawing. I was always finding ways to do things. And I always wanted to do things differently. I didn't want to, I understood the arts rules, but I also wanted to break them as much as possible. And so I was constantly, and that was my way of really expressing myself through all the hardships that came my way in my life. And so being able to go to my art was one of those ways that I just realized this is something that's part of me and it's not going away. Like when they ask you your career when you're 7, like what do you want to be when you grow up? I put an artist, and I stuck with that. And I'm a very determined person. I don't like to give up very easily. And so I like to keep going and going and going. And so when it came to how I felt in inks and watercolors, before I did a lot of my work with just pencils and color pencils and things like that. And it wasn't until college when I realized I went to an art school and I had to learn all these different mediums, but a lot of the students already knew that. So I had to teach myself. I had to teach myself how to use all these mediums. And I found that I was most comfortable with utensils that I can easily hold with my hand, but I was getting bored of just using pencils. And so I decided to do the challenge of the dip inks is what I kind of worked on doing like that. And also I wanted to make sure that my artwork translated well and communicated well with the computer, because I struggled with creating digital art on the computer. I had to realize I had to be very precise with my hand drawing so that I can just put it in the computer and it automatically registers each line and each detail clearly, and it didn't have to guess where to put the pixels. So that's kind of how I just got on there, because I just felt like it was still challenging enough and still in my comfort zone to still work with the pens and inks. And with the watercolors, I wanted a way to play with color that was more like free flowing, I guess, and more expressive in
Hmm.
that way. And that's how I really started playing with more of like the watercolors. And since I'm now a mom of 2, I had to find a medium that could quickly be cleaned up and wasn't talked about it. And so having pen and inks and watercolors was like, that's the fastest thing that I can pack up or you put in a close the box and step away if I need to before going back to it.
No, that's awesome. And were there any particular like influences that you think were instrumental, like in how you got to your style, or you just feel like it's mostly just your exploration and just kind of getting to that?
So when it came to my style, I really liked. I'm not sure if I'm gonna say the name right. It's Muncha, Muncha. Pronounce it.
I don't know if
It's
Jenny
like
knows the
the
right pronunciation. I don't.
oh, it's from the Renaissance, and so like he was like more of the neo pop kind of like when art started becoming more for advertisement and things like that. It was kind of like his style, and so I liked how he did side profile and portraits and bold lines. And so I liked that, but I also liked the idea of creating some, the two main things that really come to me when I'm creating art was creating two words that are seen as polars and bringing them together, because one of those lies that we're told as young women is that, oh, you can't be strong and beautiful, and if you're strong you're definitely not beautiful, if you're loud you're not beautiful. And I wanted to break that by finding like very strong sharp coarse lines and making them elegant and beautiful and showing that complexity between the two, and that yes they can be harmonized together. And that's what really kind of brought that out. I wanted to be able to show women that you can be all of yourself and it still be considered beautiful. And along the lines with that, I wanted to really play with negative space. For me, I feel like negative space is one of those artistic techniques that's not used very often. And it's kind of my favorite way to use art, because I don't like underestimating the power of our mind to put a picture together. And so that's why I kind of work with a lot of negative space when I do my artwork. And that's the motivation really behind the sharp angle lines along with a free flowing, like curvy, elegant strokes as well.
Wow, I love that so much on both fronts, actually. Like you're taking those like opposing ideas and challenging the norms and say, no, you can be, strong and beautiful. Because that's something as a father of a daughter too, like I want to, it's a message I also like to be able to empower. Like, yeah, you can be tough and, you know, and beautiful and all these things, right? It doesn't have to be or, right? So I love that. And yeah, it's really cool to hear, like how how that evolved. So awesome. So Jenny, you want to go to your question next?
Yes. So as I was doing research, I noticed that you had an unfortunate experience as a child related to your hair. And because of this experience, you decided to create art that celebrates naturally textured hair. Can you share with us how you turned that negative into a positive?
So growing up, it was I was bullied a lot for my looks and for my hair, especially. I am a mixed, and my mother is white and Native American, and my dad is African and Native American. And even when I went to places to get my hair done, they even struggled with my hair because it's a very mixed texture. And so I know that as a Black woman, there's a lot of standards put on our hair, even by our family. Like, you have to have your hair looking a certain way to be presentable and to be accepted. And that was even in with the bullying that was going on with school. Like, people wanted your hair to look a certain way, but they also wanted to feel a certain way. And so having my hair pulled, or saying my hair was disgusting, or saying that I was just dirty or gross because of the way my hair was some of those things that I was experiencing, and I didn't really talk about it because it was everywhere. And so I thought it was just a norm, especially in the media. There was never seen as a beautiful woman was seen with hair like my hair, or even with my skin tone. And so as I was growing up and I wanted to create these artwork, I wanted to create artwork that would inspire women that they are beautiful just the way they are. And so I wanted to make sure whenever I create a warrior art piece, that they are wielding a weapon proudly, that they represent different cultures and backgrounds, and also have hair that's real life hair that people have. Like, even some of my warriors have very fuzzy hair. And so it's just showing and representing to those women, so women can see themselves as warriors, as powerful, beautiful warriors themselves. And so that's kind of how I took that traumatic bullying and turned it into, I'm not allowing people to do this to themselves anymore or to other people. So I am going to be creating images that's going to counter those thoughts.
Yeah, and I applaud you for that. I think that's so important. And yeah, I just think it's important for us to embrace our authenticity fully. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there an echo? I think it's. I think it's my. Oh no! I think it's your mic, Natasha. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to say that I think that's beautiful, and I think that's super important, and I'm really glad that you created that. I have a daughter who has very textured curly hair, and I grew up differently, very influenced to continue to straighten my hair. I still do, to be honest with you. Um, but my daughter, luckily, because she has had so many positive influences and is able to see those images, like what you create, she is 1000% just natural, curly, big hair. So yeah, I love that you did that. And I definitely feel like the more we see those things, the more people feel like they can, right? Like they feel empowered and they feel seen. So applaud you for creating in that style.
Yeah, and I applaud that too. And I think it's one of those things I'm also trying to be very mindful with like my kids about, exposing them to more diversity and getting to see, a lot more like different hairstyles, different skin tones, different types of people, and unfortunately, I think the tradition of like, like the standards of beauty and everything have been always usually presented a certain way, so I think we have to try like extra hard to make sure that we show and really recognize, all the different beauty and the beauty and the diversity and all that. So I really love that you're doing that, Natasha. It's amazing, really, really supporting that inclusion and the diversity in the artwork and the stuff that you present. So that's awesome. The next thing I wanted to actually talk to you about, and you kind of already been tying a little bit into it in some of your answers, right? But so you did create a NFT collection on Foundation that's called the Warriors Tribe. It comprises 10 one-of-one female warrior pieces. It's all the hand-drawn ink illustrations of the warriors, and I know on there it mentions that that these are meant to like encourage and inspire others to live and embrace their true beauty and strength. I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that specific collection, and again why it's so important that this underlying message that you're promoting through it, why it's so important to you.
Yes. So for the Warriors Tribe, I wanted to create a collection of art pieces that was, these are a little bit more, they're more like characters a little bit more. Usually when I create artwork, it's more of they're faceless. The purpose of being they're faceless is so that you could see yourselves as them. And so for this collection, I wanted to create almost like a battle buddy, like a partner that goes along with you to help you fight the negative thoughts or and help you build your self-confidence and helping you strengthen yourselves in those. So as you can see, some of them are named with like polar names, like you're highlighting the confident and cunning. And I wanted to just bring those two polars together and show that you can be beautiful and have them be like someone who kind of like protects you and helps you and be that person that you can look at and know that for one, you're not alone. Like these warriors are meant to join your tribe and to kind of help you realize that you don't have to fight these lies by yourself, but you are part of a bigger tribe and a bigger community. And that's what this collection is really about.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and I love because it goes back to those 2 points you brought up before, right? Like the contrasting those two ideas and showing that they can both coexist, right? Peaceful and powerful, and like confident and cunning. So I think it's great, and also just the use of this great use of the negative space as well, right? So it really allows you to kind of really appreciate the form of the warriors. So yeah, I think it's just so beautifully done. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'd add that the detail to the clothing is just divine. Like I love looking inside of the dresses and skirts and the hair. It's just so, so good. I wanted to ask you if you could describe strength in women in 3 words, what would they be?
If I was to describe strength in 3 words, I would say confidence, truth. So being able to embrace your truth. Um, and I keep thinking elegance. I don't know why, but I mean, it's one of those polar things. But to me, being able to be a strong woman is being confident in who you are, embracing that, and um, maintaining your personal truth is incredibly strong. And for me, I don't know why elegance is coming in the mix, but for me, elegance is strong as well because it takes a strength to not allow the world to harden and to take away the delicate parts of you and still embrace that part of yourself and consider that to be strong as well.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely. Because yeah, elegance is not easy, right? You have to keep your composure. So I love that you answered it with those 3 words. Apart from empowerment queens that you create, you also create art that has nature and animals in it. How are nature, animals, and women all part of your artistic vision and expression?
So my animal collection for me is it does like a two-parter. For myself, I call it my palette cleanser. So a lot of times when I'm doing my warriors, there's a lot of background research that isn't seen. Like I have a anthropologist in the family. I partner with her to figure out all these different cultures that I can represent, making sure that I find like the proper weapons, the proper history, the proper clothing that they wear, so that I represent these cultures correctly. And then doing all those details and working that out. And for me, the animals is one way to just express myself and to use colors, but also a lot of times we sometimes pair our personalities to certain animals too. And so I like to find animals that just we often use to describe ourselves. Like we describe, like you says, the tiger, like myself. Like uh I love drawing foxes, and I think somebody maybe I relate with fox. I mean, like we can be kind of vicious, but we're very cute at times. So I like using animals to express parts of our personality that is in a more lighthearted and more fun and splashy kind of way.
Absolutely love that. I actually pinned two up to the top, and one of them happens to be the fox. And then I found another one where it's a little girl holding fish.
Mhm. That's
Beautiful.
Emma, and yeah, that was a commission I did a 3-part series for someone wanted commissioned artwork for their like lake house, and so they wanted animals they found where their house was, and so that was one of the pieces from that.
That's so awesome. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about, I know Jenny mentioned this in the introduction, right? But that you in 2021 you were selected as an HGTV Urban Oasis artist, right? And I was just curious, if maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how that experience was like, getting selected for that.
So that was it's still fun to like think about. I just remembered one day I was just on Instagram and I got this message from this guy I've never heard of that had the blue check mark. It was Brian Patrick Flynn, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to commission you to do art piece. What's the largest you could do?" And I'm like I've never heard of you. I've never had someone say, "I want to pay for 6 of your art pieces, and I want it to be the largest you can make it." So I'm like, "Okay, like whatever." I don't really. All sense. I was like, maybe this guy is like doing a new scam or whatever. And so all I did was just, I stayed professional in the DMs, and then I constructed a contract and invoice on, and then I sent it to them, and then they paid immediately. So I was like, oh, okay, I don't care if you're real or not, you paid. So I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And then I started getting, and then he was like, I'm going to have you talk to my producer. And so then that's when I started getting emails from that company. Like I looked up, HTTP scam on the Google, like trying to figure out if any of that was connected to it, and I wasn't getting anything. And so it wasn't really until I got off the phone with his producing company saying that they wanted to do an in-person video interview with me meeting Brian here in Indianapolis, that I was like, oh, this is real. And then when I told my friend, she was just like, yes, that is a real person and that is a real show. And this is because she watches HGTV and I don't really watch TV. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So it was really fun. And I really am grateful for that experience because it gave me like um, the kind of blueprint on what a collaborative relationship should look like and how it should feel like and how that communicative style is. And so it was a very good learning block for me because they're very professional about it. They're very kind and very supportive, and they communicate very well. And so it just gave me that, like, this is what collaborative work should look like. Um, and because a lot of times as artists, we just take anything and desperate because we're like, we need to make money. We make art because we love to, but we also have livelihoods. And sometimes we put up with a lot when we're doing with collaborative work or contracts or commissions. And so having this back in my experience helped me realize these can be good, and that both people should be operating during this collaboration with respect and great communicative skills, and being able to have that was good for me personally.
That is so awesome. And yeah, I was looking at like the site and everything, and like some of the pieces they put up on there, and the Brian Patrick Flynn character, he's like a real person. So no, that is so cool. It's such an awesome experience that you had. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and sort of to go with that, I noticed that you stated on your website that you want your art to be inside of homes and not museums. Can you share with us why you prefer it that way?
So for me, I feel like there's this thought that if you were to have unique, meaningful artwork, that one has to be extremely expensive, and that not everybody has that. And for me, being able to create artwork that has a personal meaning and a personal connection with high quality is something that everyone should be able to have in their home. And so my goal is to make my art as accessible as possible so that people can have that sense of pride and joy in knowing that they have either an original or um a limited edition. So a lot of my art prints on my website, I cap them out at 100 prints. So I don't, and some of them are less than that, just so that there is that sense of rarity and that it's not mass produced and that everybody has it, but has something that truly can connect and mean something to someone. And to me, being able to own art that not only you have a personal connection with, but it also isn't something you just find at like a Target or a Hobby Lobby, but it's something that is unique to you and is also directly from an artist that you can actually contact is, I think, is just huge. It's not just something that should be only the elite can have a brilliantly professional, beautiful piece of art, that anyone can own that, because art is everywhere. It shouldn't just be exclusive to those who have all the money and the power.
Hello, I wanted to make a little question, Giancarlo, Jennifer, and Natasha, if that's
Hi.
okay. Hi,
Hey, Adrian.
Natasha, I appreciate. Hi, how are you, Giancarlo?
Good, good.
Thank you for being the man. I appreciate very much your warriors. I was in foundation looking a little bit, and there's something I want to ask you about that. It's the trait, the the way you 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 draw it. It's very uh, like fast, but it's also smooth, and it's got to do with the hair sometimes also. And you know what I feel when I see that? I feel like Toulouse-Lautrec. He was always like drawing so fast but so accurately, and I want you to tell me a little bit of how you do this, how you do your work. Is that ink? You print them? What is the original piece like?
So the original pieces are done with, I have a various things. I have either a pen and ink, or I use like ink with like the fountain pens where I dip the ink in there. A lot of those precise lines that you are seeing, I don't use many tools. It is all freehand. One of the teachers that I had in my art school, we spent weeks practicing drawing straight lines, practicing learning how to use our elbows and our wrists and our shoulders to make circles. And we would just have to practice them. We would have to do 100 lines and 100 circles every time we went into class just to practice. And so for me, being able to, that's one of those things I had to practice. I had to think about how can my the bones in my arms actually, and the way our joints are, actually help me make those precise lines, because we have that ability. If we hold our wrists a certain way, it helps us make straighter lines. If we rotate our hand from our wrist versus trying to draw it with our fingers, we'll have better luck making better circles. And so it was just learning and practicing, and it was a lot of practice for just getting those straight lines and those circles. And also, hesitation is not your friend when you're doing these things. You have to do these confidently. And sometimes when you take your deep breath and you do it confidently and quickly, you're going to have a lot better than if you are meticulously going over every single little bit to try to make it perfect. When we concentrate and force perfection, a lot of times it looks forced and it doesn't come out looking perfect.
Well, I love that answer. That's so cool. Thank you, Angel, for asking that question, for coming up. Appreciate that. All right, Jenny, you want to go to your next question?
Yeah, my question has to do with your commission pieces. What has been one of your most memorable commission pieces?
So one of my most memorable commission pieces was, it actually came right after HGTV. I had a woman contact me because she saw the special in a hospital room, in a hospital bed, because she was currently fighting cancer. And she wanted to create a warrior despite what everyone was saying around her. She wanted to commission me to create a warrior of herself so that she can have the mental strength to continue her battle on. And so just being able to create that artwork with her, but we were also just communicating back and forth. And so getting emails back and forth and DMs, just talking about her story, talking about her culture, her background, where her family was from, and why she wanted certain things to be part of her warrior. And so creating that for her was such an honor, to create something for a living warrior that I had been able to communicate with one-on-one and help her through a difficult time to go on.
Goodness, that is just so moving and beautiful. And what a lovely experience. And I'm sure you're going to remember that forever. So thank you so much for sharing that.
All right. Wow. Yeah. So special. The other thing I wanted to ask you as well, Natasha, was if maybe you could tell us about any upcoming projects or goals that you have for your art career, and maybe what else we can expect to see from you in the future.
So right now I am working on a collection called Faces of a Warrior, where I'm hoping to create 50 unique portraits of warriors that I'm creating. There's the first 20 or so are physical, but I'm wanting to add some NFTs to that collection as well. And so I am working on that. I am also working on, this one's a project that I've been asked to do several times. A lot of people has been asking me for this, and I've just ignored it. But now I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so one of the things that I'm working on is creating a coloring book of my warriors in those collections, so that not only do women get to see themselves as these beautiful, strong warriors, but also coloring is one of a way to help relieve stress. And so I felt like that was another way. So I'm working on ways to make that into a reality. I am very meticulous and picky when it comes to the quality of my products. So this project is taking a little bit time, but I've also have some great people in my circle who've given me a lot of resources that I'll be able to start working on that in the next year. I am hoping that's my big goal for that. I'm still working on creating more and more t-shirt designs and things like that, but I would like to start trying to find collaborative partnerships as well, with maybe even designing shoes and things like that. And so those are kind of the things I would like to do that are still on my radar. But the immediate goals right now is to work on the Faces of the Warrior collection, and then work on the coloring book.
Wow, that sounds so cool. I definitely would pick up one of those coloring books as well. I mean, that sounds awesome, and I feel like the way you create and everything and the style of art, I think it's just perfectly suited for like a coloring book. So excited to see that, and also excited for the Faces of the Warrior, and I'm glad you're going to do an NFT portion of that as well. So that's super cool. So I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Other thing that I wanted to know about is, so outside of, art, what other things are you passionate about? What other things you like doing, in your spare time?
So yeah, I do art a lot. That is part of my like coping skill through life, but I also homeschool my two daughters. And so for me, being able to create a very empowering learning environment is something that I am very focused on. I have also have a own a dog, so it might be weird that this might be one of those things I focus on. But I have a I don't know if you can see her. There she is. There's Elsa. And so most of my time is spending time with my family, homeschooling my girls, and just like hanging out with my dog. So those are what I do when I'm not creating art or creating content for my artwork and things like that.
Oh, I love that.
Very simple.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, and, for me too, like I love spending time, so I'm sure like it takes up a lot of time to do the homeschooling, but even, just getting to spend time with your kids and do stuff with them, I mean, there's a lot of joy in that. And that's something that me as a parent, I love to do as well. So no, that's great. And I was going to mention that, if we have people in the audience that want to come up to ask a question or let us know how you're doing, please feel free to start requesting now. I would love to have you guys up here as well. And so one thing we typically ask other guests, I'm a very big into like movies, so I love to get perspectives from our artist guests to see like, things that they're interested in. And so one of the questions we usually ask is, what are your top 3 favorite movies of all time, if you have them?
Oh, movies are so hard because I feel like for me, liking movies is like it's very like I like flow. I move side like I just some days I like them, sometimes I don't. Like I think, but some of the ones that I own is I love Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman. That was like my first Batman, and so that was kind of like one of my favorite movies. Like Young Guns and Tombstone too. I own those, and so those are some of my favorite like movies. But I also like for more like animators, I love like El Dorado. I love that movie too. I just like that art in there and the color behind it, and I don't know, and I just love the interaction between the main characters, and so those are kind of like those are the ones that always stick with me, even though they don't make sense. You don't typically think a person would like all
of those, but
I do.
I love that. Jenny, were you gonna mention something about El Dorado, or?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that I kind of do see a connection between like Tombstone and El Dorado.
I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me, Giancarlo?
I can, yeah. That's weird.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
I'm surprised. Yeah, it's strange.
Well, maybe you could read it to her then. I was just thinking that El Dorado and Tombstone kind of go together in a way. But yeah, I love her movie picks. They're really great.
You didn't hear that, Natasha? No? Oh, okay. I wonder what happened. That's weird. I wonder if maybe you need to drop and rejoin. But yeah, no, she was saying that like she definitely does see a connection between Tombstone and El Dorado, and that she absolutely loves your movie picks. So
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I wonder what happened. That's strange. Sometimes, yeah, these spaces have issues at times, but all right, I see we got some guests coming up. Hopefully you can hear them. So let me know. All right. So I'm not sure who came up first. Maybe Jenny, you can tell me, was it Nefemi or Chris?
It was Nefemi first,
Okay.
and then Chris.
Hey, Nefemi, how you doing?
What's up? What's up? Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
All right. Hey, Nathasa, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the space. I always enjoy listening to your story. I was just curious, like, as a female artist in this space, obviously you're an artist before Web3. Do you find the Web3 space to be supportive? What are your, will I say, pros and cons so far that you're seeing being in the space?
As a artist,
Yeah, I think my, yeah,
I feel
sorry,
like
go
there's
ahead.
so in my just observations, a lot of the more known and successful web artists and projects, I don't see a lot of women in those projects. A lot of times, you have women in weapons and women of the world. Those are the only that's like it, but two. And so, but I found that a lot of the members in communities are also very for artists and female Black artists, and so building a community along with them has been good and supportive. I feel like once people realize that I am a female in the space or an artist in space or a Black woman in the artist in the space, they're even more like, oh, I want to like welcome you into the space and I want you to be part of the space. Not like it's not like we're being like pushed out or away or ignored a lot of times like we are in the actual like the physical art community. And I feel like in Web3, one of the things that have been great about it is that how everyone is very encouraging and very helpful and very wanting to, they want to listen and they want to look at your art. And so I just feel like it's been a very encouraging and just nice space altogether.
Nice, nice. Thanks. And my second question, and obviously you have your physical arts and your, let's say, crypto arts. What is more important to you? Do you want people to have your art in their wallets? Do you want people to have your arts in their house? Do you have a preference? Doesn't matter at all? Just curious.
I think as long as the message of my art to people, I think that's the most important thing. But even if it's a cool, I want people to have that high quality artwork. And so even when you buy something from my NFT collection, I can even help you either get you art prints or get you the original of the art piece, because if that's something that you want. But my main goal really is to create artwork that empowers, inspire people to be their true self. If they connect more with an NFT than a physical art piece, then my goal is to collect my is with it.
All right, cool. Thank you. Well, I just want to say I really love your work. So just keep creating, and I'll see you around, and happy Friday to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nafemi. Happy Friday to you. Always appreciate you coming up and bringing some great questions. Thank you, my friend.
For sure. Take care.
All right, our buddy Chris is here. How are you doing? Happy Friday, brother.
Hey everybody, I'm doing great. Thank you all again for hosting just such an amazing space to highlight artists and let us learn more about their world and background, and what inspires them and pushes them to create what they create. Tasha, I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing about just your background and what your art in general. I really resonate with a lot of your story in a sense of like your daughters and the importance of that message and that empowerment, and to feel just to keep that light shining on women. I mean, I have two daughters. One just turned 7, one will be 9 June of next year, and we homeschool as well. And my wife gives every bit that she has to them. And, I do as well. So just, seeing people, seeing artists, that are just using their creativity and their talent, their gift to help, push these very important, messages in the world. I just can't tell you thank you enough. I really enjoyed hearing about your art and, what has led you down this path. So thank you, Natasha. All the flowers to you. Hope everyone has a beautiful day.
Appreciate that. I really appreciate your words. Thank you so much for coming up and sharing that with me.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so glad you were able to make it. I know you always can't make it to the spaces, so much appreciated, and thanks for coming up as well. Jenny, you were going to say something or not?
No, I was just going to say happy Friday, Chris, and thank you.
All right, much love to you, brother. All right, I see we have another speaker, Jamal. How you doing? Happy Friday. Are you able to speak? All right, maybe not. All right, hopefully, maybe we'll come back to you. Let us know if you are able to speak. And I do want to send an invite to anybody else that wants to come up. I know we have a few of our friends in the space. Feel free to request. Oh, I see Chris has his hand up. What's up?
Hey, yeah, I forgot to say too, I really loved what you said, Natasha, about how we all can kind of, relate to an animal. That is something that really just hit me in the heart, because I've kind of just been on my own journey and just have felt kind of like a bird, which is crazy as that sounds. But, we can be kind of locked away and caged up sometimes, and, we can break free and a lot can happen. So that hit me, and I really just appreciated that perspective and, the way you tied it back to your art. Just think it's so true. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that was really cool.
Like we're growing up. Like, what kind of animal are you? Or like, what is your personality? What kind of animal do you? And I just feel like it's always a fun way to actually self-explore yourself too. I was like, if I was an animal, like what would I be, and why do I tie that animal with that part of my personality? And so I just find that I just like doing the animals because of that, because it's a fun way to get to know yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. Jenny, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just thinking as you guys are talking, maybe it was
her.
Oh, darn it. Okay. Maybe you can ask the question for me then.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead. Oh, bummer.
I was just wondering if she has an animal that she identifies with herself.
So, Natasha, Jenny wants to know if you have an animal that you identify with yourself.
I think the one I identify most with is the fox. I think it's just their ability to adapt, their ability to how, like, a lot of times when a fox hunts, like when we observe it, people were like, oh, they're playing in the snow, it's so cute. And it's like, no, we're doing some work here. But sometimes we get like that, like people just like, oh, you're so cute, you're trying so hard. And it's like, no, I am making a difference. I am getting what I need to either provide or to do things. And so, but it's also, I think it's that vibrant color too, that it's just, when you see a fox, it's easily recognizable just by its coat alone. And so, and I just really enjoy creating them. And I'm like, maybe it's because I resonate with them the most, because it was the first animal I made when I did a watercolor piece. And so I'm thinking that's the fox is probably me.
Oh, I love that. I don't know, Jay, if you wanted to comment, you wanted me to give a comment to Natasha for you, or?
Yeah, you could tell her that I love that. And I actually enjoy going out into the forest by me and always these woodland creatures. So I was curious, and like Chris, I feel like mine is the birds. I'm always just fascinated by birds, and I noticed that Natasha has quite a few pieces actually where she creates birds that are near the woman. So I like that.
Yeah, so she was saying that, yeah, she loves that the character was the fox, and then she likes to like go out in nature and kind of, the woodlands and look at animals, and she feels that she really identifies more with like a bird, and that she's noticed in some of your artworks that there are a lot of birds displayed or birds kind of close to a character as well, so she really like paid attention to that and really loves that.
I hear a lot. People want me to make more birds. I hear that request a lot. They're like, I want to see more birds in your style. And it's funny because I like observing birds. I like going out and listening to the birds, observing them, seeing what they're doing and stuff. So, but birds are pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny for me. I have kind of a funny one in this topic because before I'd always identify a little bit with like raccoons for some reason, because like they're always like scavenging for food, and I'm like always hungry, so I love that that they're kind of like playful and a little bit mischievous and just like and like persistent, like they'll try to like work to get something, and just, yeah, there's something about them that and also cute, as well. So like I always joke around with my wife. My wife is more like she loves cats, so that's like her thing. And I was like, all right, no, I'm the raccoon, you're the cat.
That's funny. That's a funny combo.
Yeah. All right, I think we have Jamal back. I don't know if can you speak now? Maybe he's having issues. Let's see. All right, doesn't look like it. All right, well, okay, I guess we'll hopefully if you can come back on and speak, Jamal, great. We'll love to hear from you. But if not, yeah, I wanted to just take this opportunity to really thank, first and foremost, everybody that was here in the space today. Those of you that came up to let us know how you're doing, to ask a question, appreciate you guys so much. And want to thank you, Natasha, for coming on our space as a guest today, for sharing your incredible story. I love the message behind your artwork. I love what you said also in that question earlier about like that it doesn't matter whether somebody buys something digitally or physically, that it's about like, are you connecting with the message and hearing that, right? That it's more about the meaning and the message behind it. I love that so much. I love that, you're promoting, more diversity and representation with the hairs and the women, and those challenging those like standard views that you can't be strong and beautiful at the same time. So I just love a lot of the stuff that you're doing, and I'm super excited to see the new collection, the Faces of the Warrior. Really excited to see that, and hope to support you in any way I can there. And also the coloring book, that sounds super cool as well. So really want to thank you so much for just sharing with us today, and just that I love a lot of the stuff that you're doing and the message that you're sharing with the world.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on here and just hosting this space. It's been one of those ones that I've listened in on too. And so you guys putting that spotlight on the artist is very much appreciated and helps gets our message and our art out there. And so I really appreciate the two of you as well.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell her I said this was a lovely interview and I loved getting to know her more?
That this was a lovely tribute, and she really enjoyed getting to know you more. So that's what I'm intending to say.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Hope you have a wonderful Friday, a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Hello. Can you guys hear me here?
I can.
Yeah.